But back to our starting point with the Fiscal Cliff, who's not a superhero, who saves the world from economic disaster. With the Fiscal Cliff now 4 days away, President Obama is holding a meeting at the White House with 4 congressional leaders, Boehner, Pelosi, Reid, and McConnell. It would help, perhaps, to have a superhero in there. Let's bring in Senator Olympia Snow, a moderate Republican from Maine. This is one of her final days as a senator. She decided not to run for re-election, in large part because of what she called the atmosphere of polarization in Washington. Senator Snow, thank you for joining us. That atmosphere of polarization is perhaps clearer today than it has been at any other time. The very reason you stated that you decided not to run for Congress. Have you hope that we will be able to get past it to fix this problem?
Oh, absolutely. Even under the worst case scenarios, I could not imagine that we would be in the position that we're in today during the Christmas holiday, still struggling to reach a resolution to this consequential question. It does raise, I think, the issue as to what is it going to require for our leadership and for members of Congress and the President to get together during these very serious times for this country.
You know, Speaker Boehner, Harry Reid mentioned that they had put a bill forward. The Senate had put a bill forward in July. The House put a bill forward in August. But the bill in July voted to extend the Bush tax cuts to households making under $250,000. In other words, to increase taxes for those making above $250,000. You didn't vote in favor of that bill. No Republicans did. But now, with a couple of days left to go, what happens? I mean, at some point, we're going to have a number, right? There are going to be a lot of other things, but there's going to be a number. It's going to be 250,000, or it's going to be 400,000, or it's going to be $1 million. How do you get a deal done?
Well, I think that, first of all, it's going to start, with the leaders and the president at the White House this afternoon. Hopefully, they'll agree to a framework. Secondly, it's going to begin in the Senate, in my estimation, to address this and to modify maybe that legislation to go to the 400,000 President suggested. My concern was carving out for small businesses in that vote in July. But I think that this is what the Senate was designed to do by our founding fathers, and that is to bring, to develop a consensus. And we have to start now, and I think it has to begin in the Senate. And if we can get it passed in the Senate, send it to the House. And hopefully the Speaker will be able to garner the support from within his caucus and with Democrats to get this job done before the end of this year and not defer it to next year. We got to demonstrate we have some capacity left to make decisions in Washington on these very significant issues for the country.
Let me ask you this, though. We keep seeing pictures. I mean, everybody's meeting today, which is great, but we keep seeing these pictures of John Boehner and Barack Obama. And many people who know these two men feel that perhaps they could have a deal. I mean, we think back to the budget debacle, the debt ceiling debacle. They can agree to things, but neither John Boehner and, to some degree, Mitch McConnell have the ability, it seems, to go back to their caucuses and get them to rally behind a deal that they make. Has that changed, in your opinion, or does this change as we get closer to the deadline?
I think it will change closer to the deadline, but then again, it's going to require the leaders to talk to their caucuses and talk to these individual members of the Senate and the House of Representatives, and understanding and underscoring the peril that we're placing the country at this moment in time, and that we have to resolve these issues. American people should not countenance this stalemate in this gridlock. We're here to do our jobs here in Washington, and we're seeing this failure demonstrated time and again because of ideological and political and philosophical stubbornness. What about the entire country? What about the good of the country? That's what's at stake for America, and I think that members of Congress individually and collectively are responsible, and the leadership has to impart that.
Talk to me about this. I certainly don't want to demonize people who ideologically believe taxes shouldn't go up on anyone, or who don't want taxes to go up because they think it's damaging to the economy. But I think there are a lot of Americans who are quite prepared to demonize people who will not change their view or cast a vote because it offends Grover Norquist. What role does that type of force, these pledges, what role do they play in our inability to compromise?
Well, I'm certain it does play a role. I've never signed these pledges because my obligation to the people who elected me, and that's the way it should be for each member of Congress. because times change, the circumstances change. You have to address the issue at hand. It is important to have, extending the tax cuts for especially the middle income, but secondly, also to put spending cuts on the table. We do have a large debt problem, and I understand that as far as the Republican position is concerned. So that, does have credibility, and we have to come to the table on both of those issues. But I think more than anything else, what is deeply troubling is that you can't get Congress and the president to reach any accord on anything. We can't even do routine business, let alone the matters that could affect the future of this country.
Olympia Snow, you and what you represent will be missed in the Senate. We wish that those who shared your view that we should get routine business and important business would stick around, but we'll miss you. Senator Olympia Snow, a Republican from Maine, who will not be in the next Congress. Up ahead.